Hello, this is Christina Caudill. Thank you so much for joining me and my fabulous team for the Eclipse preview webinar. We are almost into eclipse season. Actually, this month we'll already be feeling the opening of the portal of eclipses. Some of you have joined me already. This is probably my, I think, fourth live webinar on eclipses for the Eclipse Circle that I do every eclipse season. I've been running them for 5 years now. It's crazy. It's been that long. But what we want to do today is give you some great value for your time. We're going to do our best to keep it right around an hour because I know some of you are at work. Thank you for those who are joining us during the day. And we will do our best to give you a little taste of what the eclipses have in store for us. I have some little insight for all the Zodiac signs. And I have my beautiful other teachers here who are going to support with some beautiful insight on how to make the most of this coming year of the year of inspired momentum. Right? 2018 was not for the faint of heart. We have all been through a lot this year. But thank heaven for Jupiter in Sagittarius, and plus we also have some other beneficial aspects and transits that may just make us find our hope again, feel like we can explore and rise to a new level in our lives, but it really takes something from us. And fortunately, the astrology can really give us an insight on how we can use the time to our best advantage. I want to encourage you to, those of you who are on Zoom, go ahead and connect in the chat box and let us know where you're from. We have people from all over the world. Thank you so much, those of you in Europe that have joined us, because we made this early so that we could definitely get people from Europe, because usually we're pretty late, but looks like you're showing up. We've got people from New York City, from Switzerland, from California, England, Germany, Ohio, Phoenix. Thank you, everyone. Before I get started, I want to say a quick hello so that you know who we have supporting us here in the chat box and who will be presenting. We've got Daniela Veras, most of you may know. Beautiful Daniela from New Paradigm Astrology. Hi, Daniela.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to be here with you guys. I can't tell you how excited I am.
Are you ever not excited, Daniela?
Well, you know, I am a Scorpio, so it gets a little weird sometimes, but but yes, I am definitely very, very cheerful for the most part.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here. Please say hi to Daniela in the chat box.
Hi, everyone.
And we've got Lucy Ann from England.
Hi, everybody. Oh, it's so good to be here with you all. And yes, I am calling in from London, and it is so good to see such an amazing variety of people from all over the world. It's just warming my heart. So I'm very happy to be here. Yay.
Yay. I'm especially looking forward to Lucy Ann's meditation. She'll be calling in our Council of Light. And Daniela, those of you that don't know, she is a martial arts expert, and she is going to be telling us her top tips on how to become an enlightened warrior. And she's got some really, really juicy stuff for us later. So definitely stay tuned for that. Okay, so let me get right to it. Again, I want to just extend a really warm welcome to everyone who's taken the time out to join us today. Today, the sun is on the galactic center, which is considered the sun of our sun. It's the sun is revolving around this big, enormous energetic force, and it symbolizes consciousness expansion. So that is our intention today. We want to be expanding our consciousness together. And right now it feels like we're in sort of a time warp, doesn't it? We're nearing the solstice, the winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere. That is coming up this Saturday, December 22nd, when the sun ingresses tropical Capricorn. And it's very interesting because we'll also have a full moon in Cancer on the winter solstice, right? So we're really going to be deep into this Cancer-Capricorn axis, right? This polarity of these signs. Cancer symbolizing nurturance, the mother, the feminine, gestation, and the Capricorn polarity of authority, of the adult, the father, of achievement and ambition. And so, you know, the first thing that we might think of is like work-life balance, or dependency and independence, or responsibility versus, letting people take care of you, right? And so this is a whole different shift of our collective evolution, because the nodes, you know, they change signs every 18 months. And they just changed signs into Cancer and Capricorn last month. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But before we begin, I really want to start with a meditation so we can get connected to our presence. So if you'll just take a moment to shut out any distractions, get comfortable in your seat, and let's just close our eyes. Relax your shoulders, your arms. Maybe have your hands on your lap if that's comfortable, with your palms facing up in a pose of receptivity. Let's begin to envision a cord along the back of your hips running down into the earth. And let's set that cord on release, releasing any stuck or old energy that's no longer serving your highest energetic expression. Start to see some roots growing from your feet way down deep into the core of the Mother Earth, connecting to the ancient crystalline grid of the Great Mother. And let's call up the nourishment from the core of Mother Earth, all the way up through our roots, up through our feet, our legs, up your spine, up to the crown of your head, and back down your shoulders, your arms, and your open hands, so that your entire body is nourished with the wisdom and ancient care of Mother Earth. And now let's begin to envision your luminous energy field as a large golden ball of light surrounding your entire body, as wide as your outstretched arms, or even wider. And now ask for that light to shine brighter so that it glows and becomes radiant, filling the entire space around you with bright golden light, the light of your presence. And now let's call that brilliant light into your heart space so that the luminous energy of presence is focused on your heart, encircling your heart with the radiant light of your own unique presence. And now seeing your heart space opening like a flower, front and back, radiating peace, love, and brilliant, bright golden light of presence. And now see the circle of light-hearted souls gathered all around, seated in a circle around a big, warm, enormous ball of glowing light in the center of the circle. Feel the warmth from this ball of light that's radiating love for everyone around it. Each person, see their hearts lit up with the brilliant light of their own presence. And just feel that attunement to soul energy with each person in this circle, sensing the support of kindred souls in the world, knowing that it is safe to be open. It is safe to be fully present. And now, as we surrender in great gratitude to Spirit and Grace, we ask that we each receive the perfect message that is meant for us today, that we take it deep into our heart and allow this wisdom to nourish us at a soul level as we walk our path of divine destiny. And now, when you feel complete, You can slowly open your eyes and join me back here in the circle. And I hope you're feeling centered and refreshed, and we can begin to talk about this new year and new era beginning in 2019. Now, I will share my screen and we can take a look at some slides I have for you. Hold on one moment. You might need a moment to be coming back. Hold on one second. Sorry, hold on one second, guys. Trying to find my slides. Let's see, download. I'm gonna have to download these slides again. I'm so sorry. Okay. So, as I said, we are actually getting really close to eclipse season because even though the first eclipse doesn't begin until January 5th or 6th, depending on where you are in the world, we actually begin the season, the lunation before the first eclipse, which is this coming Saturday with this amazing experience of the winter solstice and a full moon in Cancer. But before we get to do that, can you guys see this? Can you see my slides? Okay, they don't look fabulous, but this is the best I can do right now. Okay, so in today's webinar, we'll learn how the January eclipse season opens the threshold of transforming the feminine in the world. Because as we know, it is the nodes that make the eclipses, because when they are conjunct one of the lunations, we have an eclipse. And because the North Node is in the sign of the feminine, we really want to take an extra special emphasis on this Cancerian energy, which represents the mother, the feminine, the nurturer. We'll gain insight on the upcoming eclipses for each of the zodiac signs. Then Lucy Ann Shard will tell us about how to harness the energy of 2019 for your year of inspired momentum. We'll call in the Council of Light and connect to your divine guardians. And we'll get some tips from Daniela Veras on the art of the Enlightened Warrior. Now, I'll also introduce the Enlightened Warrior Eclipse Circle, which begins January 6th. And we have a limited time offer for those who sign up tonight at midnight, so stay tuned to the end for the details on that. I absolutely love this quote from the Bhagavad Gita. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. You know, when we look at these times of great change and evolution, and we know that, you know, we are personally changing, the world around us is changing. But really, the eclipses help us to see the real timelessness of our experience here on this planet, on planet Earth, and the greater cycles that we are a part of. We have always existed, and so has everyone else. And so even though the quality of this time has a very unique sort of flavor to it, it's really important to know that if we follow our Dharma, if we are attuned to our destiny, then we will be exactly where we need to be, regardless of how the flavor of the time is showing up, because we are eternal. So this is something I always come back to when we look at these times of challenge and change, the eternal nature of existence. And I'll do a brief eclipse overview for those of you who aren't as familiar with eclipses. So eclipses usually come in pairs, We have a solar eclipse. Now, I say usually come in pairs because this past year we had 3 in a row in the summer. That's probably one of the reasons why it seemed like an especially intense year, because of those 3 eclipses, not to mention Mars and Venus retrograde. But typically we have eclipse pairs twice a year, every year. So we'll have a solar eclipse, which is a new moon aligned with the lunar nodes, in 2 weeks, followed by a lunar eclipse, or sometimes the lunar eclipse comes first. But either way, a lunar eclipse is a full moon aligned with the lunar nodes. You know, they have to be conjunct the lunar nodes to a certain amount of degrees. And we have 2 pairs of eclipses per year, which are 6 months apart. Right? And so it's always interesting to look from eclipse period to eclipse period and start seeing what is this storyline that I'm living, that in the eclipses that it really comes to fruition, or it comes to light, or it brings us a shift of our destiny. And so when I talk about the lunar nodes, I'm talking about the nodes of the moon. So if this is the moon here orbiting around our planet Earth, the orbit points where it meets the ecliptic, which is the sun, the apparent motion of the sun around the earth, is the lunar nodes, right? And so when it is descending, it's the south node. When it's ascending, it's the north node. So when you think about it, this means this is a point of alignment. And even though there aren't any actual physical bodies, it's amazing how the nodes really show up in significant events. And so it just tells you that it really doesn't have to be a physical body. It is about the alignment of the moon, the earth, and the sun, and this perfection of alignment. That's why things actually come into alignment, even though it might feel sometimes like things are totally shifting or falling apart or whatever. Actually, when we look at it from even this astronomical viewpoint, or if you want to even take it a spiritual viewpoint, it is about coming into alignment. And the lunar nodes are the evolutionary arc of the moon. Again, they're the moon's nodes. Every planet has nodes, but because the moon is our closest neighbor, it's orbiting us, right? Its nodes are especially significant to our sense of destiny, right? And so when you look at this circle around the earth, it's creating, in a sense, a womb of the earth, a womb for the earth. A womb is a space of gestation. It is when this growing being is completely dependent on the mother for its growth, for its nurturance and eventual growth. And so we look at the arc of the moon, these nodes, as showing us sort of like we consider our past karma and our future potential. And, you know, everything in the broader terms of time is cyclical, right? And so even though our mind wants to put something linear to it, and in some ways that does make sense for our, you know, current existence of our life, you know, the nodal axis is, as we saw, it is actually circular. But it helps us to conceptualize the past being the south node and the future being the north node, because we do tend to see a sense of growth potential. Eventually, we all go back to where we came from, right? But in this experience of life, we do seem to be growing at times and then descending at other times. And so the Cancer-Capricorn axis is going to be especially significant. Again, you know, the moon rules Cancer, right? So the moon over this next 18 months is going to be especially significant when we consider evolutionary growth. Now, the moon changes signs like every 2 days. And so, you know, that's why we think of the moon as moody, because it's going all around the zodiac like every month. But, and so that does also suggest a lot of change, you know, a lot of potential for constant change. So we want to be considering that. And we'll talk more about what the Cancer-Capricorn axis can signify for us personally and collectively. In general, we look at Cancer as the nurturing principle and Capricorn as the authoritative principle. So for instance, everyone knows about the Saturn return, right? When you're 29 years old, about 29 years old, and that is the time when Saturn comes back to its natal position. You know, that is, Saturn rules Capricorn, and that is like adulting. That's separating yourself in some way from the family of origin. You know, you're no longer dependent on the family of origin in some way. You have to define yourself. So that is this extreme of Capricorn. But again, an axis is always connected. Cancer, Capricorn are inextricably connected. You know, as much as we define ourselves in the world, we have a job, we have a title, you know, we can buy our own house, make our own living. We come from somewhere, Cancer. And how we were raised, you know, is always part of us. You know, they say you can take the person out of wherever, but you can't take wherever out of the person, right? Wherever they were born, however they were raised. And so we want to look at the influence of Cancer, the value of nurturance, even when we are adulting. You know, if we don't have that nurturing principle in our lives, you know, what is the use of all the success and all of the rigidness? We just become more rigid. We feel less alive. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So January 2019, eclipse season. You know, January eclipses, and I know Daniela was talking about, because she's run several of these eclipse circles with me, that something about the January eclipses, people are just so much more engaged. They're ready to start fresh. They're ready to leave the past behind. They're ready to actually co-create their destiny. So that's why these January eclipse circles can be especially exciting and just really engaging. So we kind of start with the December 22 full moon in Cancer, because that is sort of the opening of the vortex, right? That's sort of the on-ramp to eclipse season. And again, it is a full moon in Cancer opposite the ingress of the sun in Capricorn, right? So, you know, pay attention, pay extra special attention to this Saturday, December 22nd, the solstice, again, winter in the northern hemisphere, summer in the southern hemisphere. And look at where in your life these are playing out. Like, what is the significance of your ambition, your focus on who you are in the world, your responsibilities, versus the Cancer archetype, which is care, nurturance, you know, taking care of your body, of your family, opening to care, letting yourself feel safe, letting yourself relax into the safety of another. How are these two polarities being balanced in your life? And it could look like quite extreme at this time, you know. Again, work-life balance between responsibility versus dependence. And then January 5th or 6th, depending on where you are, is the first eclipse, is the new moon solar eclipse. So any solar eclipse is a new moon. I just put that in there for those of you that don't know. But it's not a typical new moon because it is conjunct the lunar nodes. Now it's interesting because this one is a new moon in Capricorn, right? So it will be in Capricorn with the south node, with Saturn and Pluto. So this is going to be a lot of Capricorn. Actually, as soon as, you know, this solstice, we're going to feel a lot of Capricorn because, again, we already have Saturn and Pluto there in the south node. And so taking responsibility for yourself. And the other thing with Capricorn is it calls for patience. It calls for diligence. You know, sometimes things feel more challenging, but with the challenge, we're meant to grow stronger in some way. And then January 21st, 2 weeks later, is the full moon lunar eclipse at 0 degrees Leo. This is the last eclipse in Leo until like 2026, I think. So I can hear Leos and the fixed signs saying, yay. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but, of course, anything Leo, anything full moon eclipse, that's going to be over the top. And then we will come to sort of the denouement, the close, February 4th with a new moon in Aquarius, the sign of liberation. A little bit on solar eclipses. So the solar eclipse is when the sun, now this isn't a total solar eclipse, so we're not going to see it, at least in America, we're not going to see it like we saw the Great American Eclipse, right? It's a partial eclipse. And, but we still are experiencing an eclipse of our solar light, and so what does the sun represent to us? It's our ego, creativity, our identity, our priorities in the world, represents our potential and how we are visible in the world, like our public image, the image that we project through our character that we build. Solar eclipses obscure the light of the sun and cast a shadow upon the earth. And so that symbolically is saying that the present, which is the sun, is blotted out by the past. And so the past becomes more in our conscious awareness. We start to think about how am I the way that I am? How have I conditioned myself to be? How have I been conditioned? And we start to look at our attachments. What are we so attached to? And how can we then move forward in ways with more intention when we can really have a more complete picture of who we are? The lunar eclipse, which will follow 2 weeks later, is again, it's about the moon. And so the moon is eclipsed. It's a full moon in an eclipse. And so it's a spiritual shift. Then we usually feel heightened emotions, right? Any full moon we tend to feel, they call it like crisis of emotions, but the emotions are heightened. And it is a good time to begin to release attachments that are no longer serving us, conditioned habits. The moon also represents things like home and security, the feminine principle, and nourishment, right? So especially with the North Node in the sign of the moon, lunar eclipses are going to be especially significant. The last 18 months, we had the North Node in Leo. And so we saw a lot going on with the solar eclipses because the sun rules Leo. Now let's shift our attention to these lunar eclipses. We often hear that in solar eclipses, we see things out in the world happen. Lunar eclipses are more an emotional transformation. And so, of course, we all have our own astrology, our own destiny around it. But there's just this emphasis with the moon over this next year and a half. Lunar eclipses show the Earth's shadow fall upon the moon, and the past is obscured by the present. So the past takes a back seat to the present. So lunar eclipses allow us to then, shift things. A lot of times people move home like suddenly or something because, the moon rules the home, or something around their attachments that are just no longer keeping them moving in an evolutionary arc. So the eclipse vortex is the period between the eclipses, right? It's a liminal space where the veil between the conscious and the subconscious is lifted, right? So just think about that. It's all this stuff, whether it be, these thoughts that you just have for a moment and like stuff back there because you don't want to think about certain things, or you don't want to disturb your train of thought. And these thoughts start coming in to our conscious mind. Eclipse, especially, again, this eclipse vortex between eclipses, if you are an empath or a highly sensitive person, these people can be especially, feeling a sense of dread or anxiety or not know what's going on. And that is why paying attention to eclipses and the symbolism can help to at least bring some consciousness to what some of the insight is from the cosmos around these times. Eclipses, you can experience far-reaching effects, profound consequences. Any new moon, for instance, the solar eclipse is a new moon. Any new moon, we like to look at it 6 months later and see what came from it. But eclipses can really change our lives, change our destiny for many years to come. And what's repressed emerges for confrontation and resolution. And that's why it may seem so, the energy may seem so heightened, is because there are things that we've been, putting on the back burner that now need to be resolved. This is a really important time to pay attention to your dreams, especially. Eclipses are when our subconscious is really trying to speak to us. And so I don't know, we were just talking, me and Daniela and Lucianne was just talking about how our dreams lately have been like so vivid and we can remember them. I think that has to do with the Neptune-Uranus right now. But during eclipses, our dreams are our consciousness trying to get our attention, right? So keeping a dream journal can be extra insightful during this time. Many Tibetan Buddhists believe that effects of positive and negative actions during eclipses are multiplied. So they're multiplied 1,000 times on lunar eclipses and 100,000 times on solar eclipses. That's why prayer and meditation and good deeds are especially important during eclipse periods. These are what they call days of observation. And what are we observing? We are observing the self, the deep self. Even the Chinese, they have been studying eclipses throughout their entire civilization. And their emperors have always been, it's tradition, from the past that they do kind deeds and humble deeds. And so there's something to be learned about that. If you can take time off of work, if it's possible, I know not everybody can do that, but at least take some time to really be looking at the self during, especially on the days of the eclipses. These are periods of alchemy, right? And alchemy is about transmutation of what is base into what is noble. And so the process of alchemy goes from separation of certain, of the elements, and they're purified. This is why we feel so the potential transformation during eclipses. Is we're going through this purification process. We're purging things through our dreams and through our actions. And then we come to reintegrate the parts of ourselves into a new space of perfection, a new level of perfection. Some of the Cancer-Capricorn themes, as I'd said before, are the strength and authority of the feminine. This is something that I see would be a sort of higher side, sort of blend of, or integration rather, of the Cancer and Capricorn sort of archetypes. As I said in my email, that we saw all these women elected to the House of Representatives on the day of the North Node ingressing Cancer, right? And so these are all women who now are in positions of authority, right? So Cancer being the feminine, Capricorn being authority. I think it'd be very important now to be acknowledging emotional needs, right? And one of those things is through consent. Consent has been this concept that we've been seeing a lot of lately, thanks to Jupiter and Scorpio. But really, can we take that even further? Consent is when we get clear communication from someone else. Can we go further? Are you comfortable? You know, what is your emotional needs in this interaction right now? That shows respect, which I think is a Capricornian theme. Boundaries, also Capricornian, but Cancer is, you know, where are our boundaries? Are we in a comfortable space? I think consent is a very important theme that we'll be seeing. Dependence and responsibility, right? When we think about we are the head of a household, Capricorn, we have those who are dependent, Cancer, upon us giving them nurturance. Things like work, family, life balance, and also where we truly belong. This theme of belonging has also been emerging in the collective. I think because of the South Node in Aquarius, we've had so much Aquarian energy, you know, everybody online, people just, you know, wanting a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and they want their independence, they want their freedom, which is great, but then we feel so alienated and isolated. You know, maybe the invitation from Cancer will bring us back to true connection, to true community, and help us find where we truly belong. Okay, so I'll go through some of the signs and we'll look at, you know, where you want to keep an eye out for this coming eclipse season. The cardinal signs, Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer, they are all on that cardinal cross. You know, so when something happens in one of these signs, they all are affected because they're all square or opposite one another. You know, they have hard aspects with one another. So they'll want to pay special attention to the Capricorn solar eclipse happening January 5th or 6th. And that is about taking responsibility for ourselves, for our lives, defining ourselves in the world. It's a sign of authority and ambition and achievement. And as I said, this eclipse will be besieged by Saturn and Pluto. So it's in between these two major intense forces, right? Saturn having to do with mastery. Pluto with metamorphosis, surrender to the metamorphosis. And so this suggests the making of an elder, the makings of a wise woman. And as one of my mentors, Stephen Jenkinson, calls it, it's becoming an ancestor worth claiming. Now, over the past 18 months with the North Node in Leo, I spoke a lot about what is your legacy you're leaving, you know, and how can you have the courage to do that. Now, when we're moving into this Cancer-Capricorn, thinking about how can I bring what I most value and cherish about myself into a way that nurtures my tribe. And become an ancestor, you know, as you are alive, thinking about your responsibility as an ancestor for your position in your tribe. And we want to remember that any solar eclipse is essentially an amplified new moon. So the intentions we set at the solar eclipse not only have the potential to blossom in the usual 6 months' time, but can affect us for years to come. So you really want to get quiet with yourself and get some really internal resources on what you want to intend for this new moon. You know, for Aries, this, you know, Capricorn has to do with your career or your life purpose or your public image, you know, how you are showing up as an authority in, you know, not just for you, but sort of in a more public way. Capricorns, this is about your personal authority in your life, your independence, you know, potentially even because it's opposite, you know, the 7th house, you know, potentially you are the one that needs to be more independent and less dependent on another. For Cancers, this may affect the relationship, a significant relationship. Maybe there is this needing to take it seriously, or some additional responsibilities or burdens in that relationship realm. For Libras, this may have to do with issues around the home and family. It could be literal home. A lot of times, Saturn in the fourth house or fourth solar house can be getting the home ready to move or having to renovate or something like that. Or it could be something to do with the family of origin, maybe some responsibilities around that. I'm trying to move fast because I know that I've been going over a while and we have a lot to cover. So please stick with me here. So the fixed signs, we've got Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. They're going to want to pay special attention to the full moon lunar eclipse in Leo on January 20th, 21st. And as I said, this is the final eclipse in Leo until 2026. Look back at the eclipses this past summer, especially July 27 and August 11, which were in this area. What was the storyline then at that time? Perhaps something around being seen. What seeds did you plant then that you can now see how far they've come? And because they were Leo and Aquarius, consider how maybe you've held yourself back in terms of being courageous, of being creative, or of shining your light, and bringing more joy into your life. So even if you had some wonderful opportunities to do those things, could there be more there for you? Is there something that needs to crystallize within you around the concept of confidence and courage? For Leos and Aquarians, you'll want to look at your significant relationships around this full moon time. For Leos, are you being seen and getting all of the joy you want out of your relationship? Are you being seen as special as you are? For Aquarians, are you expressing your appreciation for your partner? Or maybe even expressing your need for your own love and acknowledgement, right? For Scorpios, this could be a time to allow yourself to shine in your public image and to receive the validation that you have earned. It's interesting because Scorpios, tend to be very private. But when we have this Leo energy, it's saying, this is your opportunity to shine. For Taurus, look at your private life, such as your home and family. See if they can be a source of celebration and joy. Is your home like a sanctuary? Do you feel like a queen at home and with your home and your tribe and your family? Mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. You'll also want to be looking at this full moon eclipse, January 20th, 21st. It's especially significant because of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in Sagittarius. There'll be an exact Venus-Jupiter conjunction. I think it's exact like the 24th. But it's around that time from like the 21st to the 24th. Jupiter is strong in Sagittarius. It's especially benefic. It's a sign of rulership. So we are getting a pure form of Jupiter, who's the planet of expansion and abundance and blessings. And as he joins Venus, the goddess of desire, this can have a wonderful potential for relationships, for pleasure, for beauty, even money and finances. And they are conjunct the great attractor, which can amplify the energetic potential of attraction. So the great attractor is around 14 degrees Sagittarius, and it is what it says. It just is this intense sort of energy of attraction. Now, there is one caveat. I will say there is a caution because these planets are going to be square to Neptune and Pisces. And Neptune and Pisces can distort things for better or for worse. Okay, so the Jupiter-Neptune square is an aspect that we're going to be seeing on and off for most of 2019. And you'll hear a lot of astrologers be talking about this square. And to me, it says if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? Because Jupiter in Sagittarius is about belief and faith. And Neptune in Pisces is sort of that spiritual connection. And so Neptune can dissolve what it touches. Jupiter expands what it touches. And so, you know, again, that can throw off our perspective a little bit. So for the mutable signs with Gemini, this Venus-Jupiter conjunction will be in the sign of your significant partnerships, right? So it can breathe life, new life into this area. You can be, it can bring in new people and new opportunities with partnerships and need for cooperation. For Virgo, this is an area of home, family, and your private self. So really finding joy in your sanctuary with those who are your tribe. For Sagittarius, it's a time that could light up your self-worth and your attractiveness and your magnetism. Again, watch out for that Neptune, because that could even go the opposite way. Maybe you could, you know, just unfairly judge yourself too much. You don't want to do that. You want to try to do the best you can with that Venus in your, you know, your sun sign or your rising sign. And for Pisces, you'll want to consider opportunities for career growth or more meaning in your life purpose. And your public image. Allow yourself to shine. Take advantage of those opportunities that are coming to you that look like, you know, maybe you're not ready for them, but when it comes to eclipses, it's kind of ready or not, here I come, right? Okay, and so that's it for my sharing. I'm sorry if that went a little fast, but we have some beautiful teachings to share, and I want to go ahead. Lucy Ann, are you about ready to share what you have for us? Okay.
I'm ready.
And I will pin you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christina. Hey, everybody. So today I am going to be sharing with you 3 ways that we can all use to help us harness the energy of inspired momentum in 2019. But before we get into that, I'd like to share with you a beautiful practice to help us to call in the support of the Council of Light. Now, first of all, what is the Council of Light? Who are they? So the Council of Light, also known as the Keepers of Frequency, is a vast group of ascended light beings that include the archangels and the ascended masters. So in many ways, what we talk about when we talk about the Council of Light is our galactic allies who are fully committed to supporting the ascension process of Gaia and of us. So when we call in the Council of Light, it helps us to remember that we have access to a remarkable support network around us whenever we need it. And we have companions by our side wherever we choose to go. Now, because we are sovereign in our human experience, the key to activating this connection is asking for that support and calling it in. So this practice that I'm going to share with you now is my own practice, but it's one that you can do morning or in the evening whenever you feel is most comfortable for you. And it's designed specifically to help you to feel grounded and anchored in the here and now, and to call all of your power back to you. So if I would like to, let me just adjust my screen. I'd like to invite you all to join me with this practice. So if it feels right to do so, closing your eyes, taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. And if it feels right for you, just placing one hand on your heart and the other on your belly, just below your belly button. Taking a moment to focus inwards on your breath. And with your next inhalation, smile deeply at your heart. And on your next exhalation, feel what it feels like when your heart smiles back at you. Now placing your hands just comfortably in your lap, or if it feels right, bringing them up into prayer position at your heart space. And inhaling into the fullness of your physical being now, calling yourself into full alignment into this moment. Letting go of any doubts, fears, any worries or any tension, anything that's no longer serving you. Becoming aware of the space all around you now, including the space above you and below you, below your feet. Welcoming the Council of Light, the keepers of frequency, to surround us in a container of grace, love, and peace now. Welcoming now the guardians of the element Earth, gratefully receiving the blessings of peace from Archangel Uriel and Goddess Isis. Welcoming now the guardians of the element Fire, gratefully receiving the protection of Archangel Michael, Saint Germain, and the Violet Flame to assist us. Welcoming now the guardians of the element Water, gratefully receiving deep wisdom for our spiritual growth from Archangel Gabriel and Mary Magdalene. Welcoming now the guardians of the element Air, gratefully receiving the healing illumination of Archangel Raphael, and welcoming in the deep compassion of the Kuan Yin. Thank you for opening our hearts to our brothers and sisters. And taking your focus now to just above your crown chakra, welcoming the connection of our elders and our spirit guides who watch over us. Welcoming in the wisdom of Archangel Metatron to guide us. Gratefully honoring and receiving the pure elegance and love consciousness of the infinite cosmic intelligence. Taking your focus now to a few inches just below your feet. Gratefully welcoming the blessings of Archangel Sandalphon as we connect in harmony with our great Mother Earth. Anchoring our energy in communion with Mother Gaia now. We thank you for holding us, for nourishing us. We honor you in our highest service. And once again, just taking your awareness to the energy surrounding you now, both above and below you, to the Council of Light, all around us, above and below. Thank you for guiding us, for protecting us, and nurturing us. And so it is. Okay, so taking a nice deep breath and coming back into the room. I hope that this practice serves you. So I want to share with you a little bit about how to harness the energy of inspired momentum in 2019. And there are 3 ways that I want to share with you in how to do this. They are presence, practice, and purpose. So how do we cultivate presence when it comes to harnessing the energy of inspired momentum? The way that we do that is we anchor our spiritual practice in our daily life. Now, this requires focus and discipline. And that means it requires consistency. So we're not talking about a rigid and uncompromising approach. No, but we are talking about a consistent approach. And it's really important to make a note here for all of us, I think, that as we move into this year of inspired momentum, to remember that spiritual practice is also about cultivating joy. So inviting the inner child to become our inner teacher and to be focused and disciplined on consistently cultivating joy in our lives. I think that's really important. How do we cultivate presence? We honor the breath. We honor the enlivening energy of each inhalation and the surrender of each exhalation, allowing us to be fully present and engaged in the now. And I think that all of us can agree that giving someone the gift of being fully present with them is one of the most valuable currencies that we all have in the world today. So 2019 is our year to stand strong in our values and to cultivate relationships and partnerships that support us. Presence is about cultivating a consistent practice of staying aligned with our values and with our heart. So that brings me to the path of practice in 2019. one of the most empowering things that we can do is recommit to deep communion with our body, with our sensory intelligence, and with our nervous system. You know, most of the people that I work with are highly sensitive and or empathic. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to trust the sensory intelligence and to honor the wisdom that your body is sharing with you. So to celebrate that sensitivity, it's such a gift that you have to share with the world. The path of practice is also about recommitting our path of service to Gaia. You know, the thing about the deep dive of the eclipse vortex and the whole eclipse season is it's not about journeying outside of ourselves to escape. No, it's a journey within, to recover, to reclaim, and to remember the wisdom that is held within our cells, within our bones, and to reconnect to the ancient wisdom that is held within Gaia, within the earth. And then finding practical and grounded ways to integrate and to apply all that we learn to our everyday lives. So we harness the energy of inspired momentum through the path of practice by calling ourselves home to who we truly are, by honoring what nourishes us and what matters most to us. So ensuring that our inner well of vitality and of connection is full. So that brings me to my last point, which is about purpose. Now, when we talk about purpose, it's not necessarily about what we're here to do in the world. It's how we are being called to be in the world. So that means speaking and acting with integrity. So ensuring that the words and the actions that we speak and that we do, all of the spoken and unspoken languages that we express, cultivating an even greater awareness that those words and actions are in alignment with our intentions, that they express our heart's truest desires. So as we move into this year of this inspired momentum, I have two questions that I invite you to ponder or to contemplate. And they are, what heart-based truth are you being called to share with the world? And what heart-to-heart connections and support structures are you here to build in 2019 and beyond? This year is the year to take action on your answers. So in the Enlightened Warrior Eclipse Circle, I'm going to be there as one of your guides and to support you as you embody the fullest expression of who you truly are. So I'm excited about that, and I hope that this serves you.
Thank you. That was beautiful. It was so beautiful, Lucy Ann.
Yeah.
Of course, your accent just mesmerizes me, if I'm perfectly honest.
Well,
But
thank you.
I felt that. Did you feel that, Daniela? You felt all the enlightened guides and
Yeah, it was big tonight.
I've been in a zone. I've been so wavy the entire time, just like sitting in it. Yeah, definitely, Lucy's. Absolutely.
And I want to say real quick, I put earlier in the chat box, I'll put it again, our Eclipse Circle website for those of you who want to join us. And we have one person already joined. That's Susan. Thank you, Susan. We will be seeing you very soon in January. So, yay, Susan.
Yay.
And we'll have more on that. Looks like we're going to go a little bit over, if y'all can hang in there and keep on, because we have some beautiful teachings from Daniela Veras. And we will talk more about the Eclipse Circle. If those of you have to jump, then just know that I will have the recording out as soon as I can. But if you can stay, please, please, please stay, because I don't want you to miss Daniela giving you some tips on her insights on becoming an enlightened warrior. So what does it mean to be an enlightened warrior? Well, Daniela will give us the insight on that. So Daniela, are you ready?
Yes. Hey, fam. What's going on? Now, definitely my energy is a bit of a departure from the very, chill vibe that these ladies bring to the table. I am definitely the ass kicker, for sure. And so, as Christina mentioned, I do have a lot of experience with combat sports and martial arts, believe it or not. Interestingly, when I was very deep in my spiritual journey, just going into the dark night of the soul, and I started studying boxing. And a lot of these champions and these martial artists became sort of like unofficial spiritual gurus for me. And I learned so much from their wisdom. People like, Muhammad Ali, for instance, Bruce Lee. And I'm going to share some of the things that I learned through my spiritual and martial arts practice. So one of the first things that I learned, and the first tip that I have for you, is going to echo a little bit of what Lucy was talking about, and it's about discipline. Now, discipline is one of the most important things. It's so important to have routines. Bruce Lee said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." Because when that person goes to land that kick, it will be lethal. And that is the importance of being able to develop that practice and consistency with it. It is about developing a sense of mastery. So that's one of the things. The second thing that was really interesting that I learned through the martial arts practice is presence. Is super important. Being very deeply present where you are. Learning to be in your body, to feel your body, to be deeply seated within yourself. And then when you can do that, then you can really analyze and see what's really out there, and be able to make better decisions, be able to plan your next move, if you will, but bringing it back to the martial arts. But for you, and not outside of the combat sports, that might look like being able to recognize your own internal guidance and being able to make better decisions there. The other part that I learned, the next tip for you I have is, and Lucy mentioned this also, is about breath. Breathing. It's something that seems so simple, is so imperative. I mean, for anything that we do, if you ever find yourself in a state of anxiety or in a state of worry or concern, just taking a moment to and take a deep breath and really bring that, what is that guy said? He said, breathe in that good ass prana. That is, yes, I forget what his name is. It's Infinite Waters on YouTube, but he's so hilarious. And just taking that deep breath really brings things into clarity, and again, brings you back into your body and reminds you to relax. The next thing, the next tip that I have for you, especially with all these waters and Neptunian things, has to do with flow. Again, I'm going to bring up Bruce Lee. He talks about be water. You can crash or you can flow. You can take and be adaptable, stay movable. And being able to flow and to feel the movements and to be able to go with them and align with the cosmic movements will really, really serve you. Because when we're not doing that, often we're fighting against the currents. We're trying to resist. We're in that resistance. And a lot of times when we're going against that, that's not for us. So when we learn, again, bring it all back together, the presence, the breath, and being able to flow, we can align with our own internal compass. And to be able to be more, take advantage of that inspired momentum versus going against it. Another one that's been a huge buzzword, and we're going to hear more and more of it as we move into this Cancer North Node. It's my natal North Node, is about self-care. And I know everybody's like, yeah, we're all into self-care and stuff, but it's like, I feel that self-care still has been this thing where we consider it a luxury. We consider it something that it's like, oh, I got to do this self-care thing. Or maybe we feel lazy or indulgent when we engage in it. And one of the things that I'm going to invite you to do is to make it part of what you do in your life. Make it part of the job. In martial arts, one of the things that they did often is to use restorative practices to retune their body, to retune their minds, to, they would get massages, because they needed that. The body takes a kick in. And when you're an empath or a spiritual entrepreneur, your energetic body takes a kick in. Your mind, being able to be present with the person and hold space a lot of times takes a lot of energy, and you need time to recharge. You need time to give back to yourself, to fill your own cup. And so I have a friend actually who leads spiritual retreats, and one of the things that she told me that I've taken part of my practice is that after every retreat, she knows that part of the job, part of the retreat is taking the next day off completely. She's shut down, she turns off the phone, turns off the computer, shuts down, and she takes care of herself. That is part of the job. Again, we're integrating that Cancer-Capricorn axis there. And the most important thing, the most important tip I'm going to share with you, if there's nothing else you take with you today, is that the most important thing is for you to show up. Have the courage to show up for yourself. Because your mind is going to give you all these excuses. Oh, here's the famous one. I don't have time, or I don't have money, or I'm too busy. What is the other things that you tell yourself? And the only thing that you have to remember in that moment is to say, you know what? I hear you excuses, but I'm going to show up anyway. And they'll come up with perfectly valid ones. But one of the things that you realize that showing up is half the battle. And once you're there, you can really take that inspired momentum to move forward and really transform your life. So in this eclipse circle, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be your official ass kicker. I am going to be the one that's going to keep that fire lit under your ass. And if we can, I am really good at the dark and twisty bits. I'm here to encourage you. I'm here to keep you in that space of courage that you continue to show up for yourself. So you can continue to do the hard things and creating these safe spaces for you to unravel and to feel your feelings. Yeah, it's juicy, it's yummy. But that's what I'm going to be here to do, and to continue to support and to continue to grow and learn together. If this feels like, if you feel called to it, I invite you, show up for yourself. Join us. Do this for you.
I love that. Thank you so much, Daniela. And everyone watching, just know that Lucy Ann and Daniela Veras, they started as students in this program. And they I've seen them blossom, and they're continually challenging themselves. They're continually doing the deep dives in this eclipse circle. Now they're here as my support and as your support. Something new we're going to be doing this year is we're introducing Course Angels, which are the previous graduates are going to be coming in. And so every student is going to have a friend in the course. They're going to have someone there to witness them, not coach them, not fix them, not give them therapy, but be their friend in the course. Because 6 weeks will go by really fast, actually, especially during an eclipse period, and you want to feel connected. And everyone who has taken this course, who has shown up for our Zoom calls, just like this, we have once a week, just like what you've kind of experienced tonight, they have felt such a deep sense of connection. I want to share a little bit about, we have one of my favorite quotes from this last eclipse circle. And here's the website, Enlightened Warrior Eclipse Circle. So, the warrior part is coming up so loudly for so many of us in our lives. But can we stay enlightened through this process, right? It's everything that you heard from Daniela and Lucy Ann, calling in your council of light, accessing your inner warrior, your discipline, and doing it in a safe space of support. Again, the course is January 6th through February 10th. Our calls are on Sundays so that you can actually take some time out of your week, just an hour a week. Sometimes we go a little longer. Obviously, there's a lot we want to share, kind of like tonight. And what we do is we come together to support the emergence of your authentic self through astrology, through ceremony, and soul making within this alchemy of the eclipse season. So these are like intensives, right? We do it twice a year. You get your intensive, and then you have 6 months to unfold. And if you feel like you're up for it again, you come back 6 months later. This is one of the quotes I highlighted from one of our recent Eclipse Circle participants from this year. She said, "My whole life has changed. I will never see myself as the same. I feel much more able to face challenges and have a better understanding of my purpose and destiny. My life is still manifesting at a high level. I'm overflowing with gratitude and deep respect for the Eclipse Circle experience." I mean, you can't get any better than that. And Mary Law is so dear to us. But this kind of reaction is what we hear a lot of. These are threshold experiences of the eclipses. And this is a really special opportunity to join in others with a sacred circle of support. And you can check out the website. It's a 6-week online eclipse circle. You can read about all of the benefits. We do the live call every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You have an audio recorded lesson with a guided meditation and PDF each week, released on Tuesday. We'll have a private Facebook group. We can stay connected. And each person, which I will show you here in a minute, is going to receive some one-on-one support, one-on-one sessions, rather, from each of us teachers. Each student will get a 1-hour Soul Destiny Evolutionary Astrology session from me. This is new. I used to only give this to people who pay in full. Every student is going to get a session from me. It's a $180 value. Every student will get a 90-minute Soul Catalyst healing session from Lucy Ann Shard, our clinical hypnotherapist. That's a $150 value. I forgot to put the value here. There's another $150 value. Daniela Varast will be giving you a kick in the pants. A courage activation, 75-minute individual one-on-one session. In addition to your weekly lessons, our Sunday Sacred Circle calls, and our private Facebook group. We're going to begin with the Capricorn solar eclipse opening ceremony. We always do an opening ceremony. This time we'll be commanding the return of our power, receiving vision from within, and finding sanctuary in the heart. And each week we will have an enlightened guardian. The first week will be Dear Mary Magdalene. The second week, January 13th, we will focus on the North Node in Cancer, the emergence of the mother. We'll talk about forgiveness as the deep medicine of compassion. We'll connect to the ancient crystalline grid of Gaia. Lucy Ann will guide us in a beautiful meditation. And we'll do a ceremony of an initiation into the Council of Wise Women. And our enlightened guardian will be Kuan Yin. January 20th, we will have a full moon lunar eclipse celebration. We're going to let our Leo side shine. We're going to have an inner goddess celebration. We'll be dressing up as our inner goddess. We're going to declare our heart song and see our grand vision of desire. And our enlightened guardian will be Miss Aphrodite. January 27th will be a focus on enlightened warriorship. We will be aligning with the power of our presence. We'll be calling in our Council of Light as our support throughout this process and throughout 2019. And we will be going on a quest for our personal treasure. Our enlightened guardian is Pallas Athena. February 3rd, the Aquarius new moon manifestation. This will be a great time to be putting in intentions for innovation. We'll be embodying our sovereignty, recalibrating to the inner truth, and choosing what it means to be creative and innovative. And our enlightened guardian is the badass Lilith. So you're not going to want to miss that. And we will close with sacred momentum. We'll discuss the wholeness of Chiron, the wounded healer. Chiron was just about to leave Pisces, will not be back for over 50 years. We want to make sure we get the lessons from Chiron as Chiron goes into a new phase into Aries. We'll be talking about igniting the creative flame and following your authentic self for you to arise to. And the enlightened guardian will be Vesta, the sacred flame. And you can check out the website for all, if you're too busy. We heard that as the number one reason why some people didn't join. And we just call on for you to check in with yourself with what your soul is really craving and how we can nourish that. More on this course. I want to bring it down to the cost, and that's what people are thinking. Right now, we're having an early bird special where you save $200 before December 22nd. And if you join before December 22nd, you get a $147 value, my Unlock Your Radiance Chart video course, a 5-module video course. That is yours as a free bonus. You'll get Lucy Ann's Deep Immersion Meditation audio for powerful and purposeful manifesting. That's a $30 value. Right now, pay in full is $798. We have payment options, $399, 2 payments of $399 and 6 payments of $133. So this is an investment in yourself, but we've packed it full with so much value. And so be sure you go to the enlightenedwarrioreclipsecircle.com. Again, that is the website. We also have a very special opportunity today. If you join by midnight Pacific time tonight, today is December 18th, you will also get my PDF on how to start and sustain a new moon sister circle. I'm happy to give you all of my secrets on how I've been doing this for years, whether you do it online or in person. They are great ways of honoring the moon, and especially during this time. And Lucy Ann also has a special if you join by midnight tonight. Lucy, I tried to unmute you. I don't know. Can you unmute yourself? I don't know. Oh, there you go.
There we are. I'm unmute. Okay, cool. Yes. So guys, I have an amazing album for you. It's called the Songs for Serenity album. It's my own creation, and it's an album of singing meditation tracks that invite you to soften into peace and gentleness. It's absolutely perfect to ease stress or any sense of overwhelm. And each track has been composed and created and recorded by me with the intention of sharing peace and unconditional love with you. And I also just want to add to what Christina was saying. I joined at the beginning of this year, 2018, I joined this Eclipse Circle as a student. And it was the best investment that I've made in myself in this year, because I could not have done what I have done in my business and my personal life if I hadn't had that container of space to envision and to take inspired action on what I envisioned for myself while I was held and supported by these incredible women. So if you're feeling the energies of 2019, and they are calling your heart, then I invite you, and I hope that you say yes.
Yay, thank you, Lucy Ann. So as we're wrapping up, how about Daniela? Do you have anything you want to share as we wrap up?
Well, I've been doing these eclipse circles with you. It feels like
God,
ages. I don't know. It's been, but for me, especially with the Leo Aquarius axis that's been on my first house and everything, these have been incredibly transformative. And to have a safe space, to be able to have the community, to have, to belong to a group of women that are supporting each other has been invaluable for me. I don't think that I would have been able to do as much work or grow as much or you know, even unravel so many pieces that have been keeping me from being the fullest and highest expression of myself without these circles and without Christina and Lucy Ann. I mean, I'm so grateful and really so honored to be able to participate now also as a facilitator and pay this forward and help you do the same.
Thank you, Daniela. So I hope if this calls your heart, you'll consider joining us. And I hope you've gotten something out of today. I know it was a lot of information, but we hope that you found a way to return to your heart, to find your sense of hope and enthusiasm again for this new year. Because as we're wrapping up this intense 2018, this is the perfect time to kind of take stock of where you are in your path of destiny. And we are committed, absolutely 100% committed to helping you realign and stay aligned with your highest self and your authentic self. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I will have the recording out shortly. I know some of you were asking about that. We will be doing a live replay for some people who weren't able to join. It will be the recording. We'll have it live again. I'll have to get with my team on the date for that. So keep an eye out for your email. Thank you so much. Everyone have such a beautiful solstice. And we hope that you will have an amazing holiday and a beautiful 2019. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.